What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel's 400th subscriber special. Thank you guys so much for that. So PvP tips and tricks have constantly been requested on my channel, so I decided to make my own video on it. So why does it matter to be good? The answer seems rather obvious for a lot of people, but I haven't seriously thought about it in a long time, and I guess my best answer is just versatility. Being good at the game gives you the flexibility of picking up new game modes more easily in Minecraft. It also expedites the progress in terms of the game modes that you play. And finally, I think it's important to mention that by teaming up with other good players, you get better results for the skill that you have relative to if you were to team up alone. This is simply because additional tactics can be implemented in numbers. All in all, being good at the game makes it way more fun to play, so keep watching this video if that sounds good to you. I'm going to start with the basics of Minecraft PvP, and then work my way down to specific strategies to use and skills to train. The reason why I'm starting at such a baseline is just because everyone has a different starting point, so if I start ground up, then ideally everyone can benefit from this video. So, in a nutshell, Minecraft PvP is a low skill ceiling, momentum, and combo-based competitive game that revolves around click speed, aim, and precise item swaps. There aren't too many items in the game that can realistically be used competitively, and a lot of the combat is played at point-blank range, so it's relatively easy to become decent at PvP. That being said, it is really difficult to master, so if you want to be a top 500 or top 1000 player, you'll have to be patient. Regarding the actual gameplay, fights are usually won by dealing more damage to the opponent than they do to you. This is traditionally done through strings of combined hits with strong weapons. To give a rough guideline to combos, it is important to note the momentum of a player. Generally speaking, if two players are fighting and player 1 has more momentum than player 2 going into the fight, player 1 has a better chance of starting a combo. Combos are continued because of the knockback mechanic. Just before we continue, I first want to recommend that you get the Badline client or Minecraft Forge if you're not already using either. Both programs allow for legal mods to be used on virtually every server, and it's important that you take advantage of them. So getting better sprint is almost a necessity for every player, because it just allows you to let go of a key you'd otherwise be constantly holding. This is just because sprinting is a really important mechanic in Minecraft. In addition to this, I also highly suggest that you adjust your hotkeys to different slots on your hotbar. The hotbar holds 9 items, and it's important to be able to use all 9 slots quickly and efficiently. For example, my hotkeys from 1 to 9 are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, V, G, W, and H. For WASD players, so because I move with ESDF, these keys translate to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, F, Q, G. All of these keys are comfortable for me to hit quickly, and I always set up my hotbar as consistently as possible so I don't misuse an item. So let's now talk about strategies you can use to actually combo other players. So we'll first talk about starting a combo, which is actually the hardest thing to do, in my opinion. There's no way around this one, you just have to outplay your opponent. The best way, in my opinion, of starting a combo is by moving sporadically. Throwing off your opponent's aim, even for a split second, is enough for you to get priority on your first hit. Obviously, you don't want to run straight at your opponent, since that wouldn't really require them to adjust their aim whatsoever. You don't want to constantly jump, because that is also really easy to read. Finally, you don't want to use the same strafe pattern over and over again, which I think I see a lot of players using. If your opponents pick up on basically anything that you've been doing that I listed above, you're toast. That being said, your best bet is by sprinting toward your opponent to maintain momentum, stuttering your movement if necessary, and strafing irregularly using your left and right keys. You won't get in every time, but if you're moving unpredictably over time, your opponent is bound to miss aim eventually. Starting a combo also becomes much easier in combination with other items. For example, if you have a knockback dealing item such as a bow, fishing rod, eggs, snowballs, etc., you can drastically change your opponent's knockback, giving you your advantage back. The fishing rod is a very complex item and requires another video to actually get into, so tell me if you guys want to see a continuation of this one. Now suppose you've landed your first hit and your opponent hasn't hit you. This is where you must work to continue your combo. Generally speaking, it is easier to continue a combo than it is to start, but you still need to be relatively unpredictable. Many combo continuation strategies revolve around knockback manipulation, so remember how I said that Minecraft PvP is a momentum-based game mode? That fact comes into play here, especially. If you have significantly more momentum than your opponent, you'll continue your combo, hence why it's easier to continue a combo, because you already have a forward momentum relative to their backward momentum. So this gives rise to strategies like W and S tapping. W tapping relies on a Minecraft mechanic where your opponent takes more knockback upon the first hit that you strike just after sprinting. W tapping allows you to reset your sprint and thus make every hit after W tapping be the quote-unquote first hit after sprinting. This means that your opponent will take tremendous amounts of knockback, and if they continue to commit to the fight, you'll get an easy combo. S-tapping is a similar concept, but it includes an extra precaution where you hit your back key just after every hit to ensure that your opponent cannot reach you. Both these methods are really good, but only work if your opponent is still trying to commit to your fight. So don't do this against an opponent running away or one that plays overly defensively. The next tip corresponds with the irregular strafing strategy as mentioned above. I suggest mixing up your direction when fighting up close, especially against players with poor aim. Circle strafing in particular is especially useful. This is a strategy where after you land your first hit, you hold either left or right to constantly move about your opponent in a circular fashion. Again, don't be predictable. Your opponent will pick up on this strategy if overused. The last tip I can give is click speed and aim. So click speed is relatively important in Minecraft PvP because of the knockback algorithm. Without going into too much detail, the faster you click, the less knockback you take, which means you get more relative momentum compared to your opponent. That being said, I highly suggest you don't focus on click speed. It is way more rewarding to get better at the game, mechanically in my opinion. If you ask me to choose between aim and click speed, I take aim every day. Click speed does not matter at all if you miss aim in every engagement. On top of that, Minecraft is a video game, and unless you're dedicating your life to this sort of thing, strategies like jitter clicking simply are not worth the risk of injury. Combos can finally be continued based on combining ideas that have already been stated. For example, sometimes I'll fishing rod first to get in, circle strafe while W tapping, and end with an S tap to make sure that they can't hit me, create some space, and then hit with the fishing rod again to re-engage. But so many combinations can be used to play around with them. Just to sum up everything I said, a good player in a nutshell is really unpredictable. I would say good players always have good game sense, mix up their strafes, have a good balance between sword, secondary, and bow fighting, and are able to acclimate to the circumstance. Of course, game sense is incredibly difficult to train and teach, so I suggest you just play your game mode and watch other YouTubers play your game mode, and note the things that they do that you don't. If you want an honest answer, I got good because I kept up with the game and I learned from the best. In 2015-2016, I took PvP seriously, and I watched players like Huohui, Dante, Tylars, Bluedo, Solar, B-Boy QG, etc., which made it much easier for me to improve. Unfortunately, many of these players are no longer around, and there's no longer a community as great as Badlion was. So I suggest you continue to watch a lot of players that you think are good. Take notes on what they do, and uncover your own flaws in that way. This is a general overview with some basic strategies included, and as a result, this will most likely not be enough to get everyone to master the game. If you want more in-depth strategies, please leave a comment below, and I would be more than happy to expand upon what I've already covered. For now, work on your aim by finding a good feeling sensitivity, and practicing shooting targets on 3D Aim Trainer Online, or games like CSGO and other practice game modes in particular. Also practice with single-shot weapons since you can't hold down your mouse button to hit opponents in Minecraft. Reprogram your hotkeys and practice using them in fights against other players. Think about the strategies I mentioned and try to implement them in your own unique way. Otherwise, that's all I have for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks again for 400 subscribers, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.